Hello and welcome once again to Over the Hill Outdoors. Today I'm setting out on a 2 or 3 day camp out to demonstrate various upgrades that a person can make on the basic Tarp camping shelter. I really like my 10 by 10 foot Tarp as a camping shelter. It's light, it's versatile, it's quick to set up. And I've camped in it comfortably in all seasons of the year, including the dead of winter. However, it does have a few drawbacks, especially if you plan to spend more than a few nights in it. So in this video, I'm going to show a series of upgrades that I've made to my basic tarp shelter that address some of those issues. I'll begin with my basic tarp setup. I call it the 7-point configuration because it has 7 anchor points. I start with 3 anchor points, 2 in the back and 1 in the front, and then my trekking pole as the ridge support. I then set 2 more pegs on each side and I'm done. That's it. The low profile and the ridge pole, they kind of get in the way. They reduce the usable floor space by quite a bit, but it's still a functional shelter, at least for overnighters. The simplest and quickest upgrade that addresses the limited floor space issue is just to eliminate the center pole and replace it with an external tripod of logs or sturdy sticks. It took me less than 15 minutes to make this adjustment on my shelter this time. My next upgrade, it took quite a bit longer, but it greatly increased the usable floor space and the headroom inside the shelter. It also added a greater degree of protection by providing a more substantial physical barrier between me and any curious or hungry predators that might come around at night. This upgrade is done by building a log foundation. I build it in the same shape and size as the tarp shelter's footprint. It won't stop a bear or a mountain lion, but it could give me a few extra seconds if an animal did decide to come inside the shelter. And it does give me a little more peace of mind than does just a thin layer of nylon fabric. Once the foundation is finished, it really only takes a few minutes to transfer the tarp and attach it to the top row of logs. And then a substantial external tripod frame is used to support the tarp shelter's roof. There's the new and improved shelter with a foundation on it. Give you a little walk around here. Give you a little tour inside. Much more headroom than we had before, and a lot more usable floor space. Now, next upgrade. To cut down on the wind blowing through cracks between these foundation logs, I used moss that I stuffed into the gaps. It took a few hours, but it made a big difference in reducing the draftiness of the shelter. In this step, I added a wooden door. Now this could be done, at this stage or a later stage in my upgrade process, but I chose to do it now. This door is made up of small logs or large sticks that I've lashed together, and I've tied to the tripod frame with just a simple lashing hinge. Once the door was finished, then I chinked the gaps with more moss, and there you have it. Now in this upgrade I added a bed. It's nothing more than a simple log frame on the ground, supported with some vertical stakes to keep it in place. And then I've filled it with a soft natural insulation material. It could be leaves or moss or just about any other suitable material that's available, but in this case I used shredded pine cone material from a squirrel midden, or a squirrel's kitchen refuse pile, basically, where he's chewed apart all of his winter's storage of pine cones and left them in a big convenient pile for me to use. This next upgrade was the most time-consuming of all that I've shown you so far, but it makes by far the biggest difference in terms of the shelter's durability and longevity. What I wanted was something that would keep the inside of my shelter dry and cozy in the middle of winter, even under a very heavy snow load that might otherwise, collapse my tarp roof. So this upgrade, it consists of a log shell built over the entire tarp roof. I chose to set the logs vertically like an A-frame structure rather than horizontally like a traditional log cabin. This step took me over 8 hours, but I did get it done in one long day. Again, I feel it's worth it if you need a shelter that can be functional and comfortable for many months in all seasons and in all types of weather, especially in the winter. This upgrade was to add some moss again to the log gaps from the canopy shell. The purpose was to keep snow from filtering down through the logs and accumulating on my tarp roof. The main purpose in this case is not insulation. I figure once I get 2 or 3 feet of snow on top of this roof, that's going to provide plenty of insulation, just like an igloo or a quinsy or a snow cave would do. Alright, I've got it all chinked. All the gaps are filled with moss, at least most of the big ones. Now, I think the final touch will be just to shore up the base of all these exterior shell logs with some dirt. Just bank it up against there so they're less likely to shift out. And then I'll give you a tour of the whole outside and then a tour of the inside. My final upgrade is a fireplace that I built near the entrance of the shelter. I know it's always risky to build even a small fire inside a wooden shelter, and this is no exception, but I intend to use it only sparingly and only with a very small fire. My main fire will be outside and away from the shelter, far enough away to be safe. But I built this fireplace out of rock and mud with a little sand and a little ash added to the mud to make it a little bit stronger mortar. And now I just need to let it dry, and I'll come back in a few days or a few weeks and stay another night in my shelter and test out the fire and see how it works. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and you got a few tips on how to upgrade your tarp shelter depending on just how much of an upgrade you need to feel comfortable for the conditions. Enjoy the outdoors and be safe. Alright, it's 5 years since I built this little shelter, and still standing. I thought that maybe, I knew that the weather wasn't going to tear it down, but I thought maybe people would find it and tear it down just for whatever reason, but they haven't. It's withstood the weather for at least 5 winters, and it's still structurally pretty much intact. I'll just give you a quick walk around, show you what it looks like. The only thing that's kind of fallen apart, of course, the chinking is gone. The doorway has been broken, but inside it's still there. Livable. Yep. So that's it. 5 years.